All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA prop betting video. Going to be breaking down all the best bets here for today on Saturday. Let's go ahead and get into it. So guys, just a quick recap from yesterday as well. Kind of another fine day, 4 for 6, almost had LaMelo Ball for over his fantasy score, just too many turnovers for him. He ended up with 5 turnovers, no steals. So obviously that's not going to help you get the over fantasy score. And then Zachary Reischischer, this one was kind of annoying. Just he had 5 points basically right away at the start of the game and then nothing from that point on. That game ended up being higher scoring as we expected. Now, I will say, guys, yesterday was one of my better days of the year betting on PrizePicks due to some of the fantasy score lines that we were getting. Kobe White nearly hit a middle bet, which was very annoying. That would have helped out a lot given the underdog slips I was running out as well. But both him and Josh Giddey were having extreme prop line differences, so we were betting it on both sides. So not necessarily a good day on underdog, but kind of ended up being a good day for me on PrizePicks. Bane was another one where we were getting a big prop line difference, but overall ended up being a pretty darn solid day overall for me. And that's just, I'm pointing that out because of the importance of the fantasy score prop bets between PrizePicks and underdog, where you can gain those big edges. I am doing this video a little bit earlier, okay? So we are going to have PrizePicks fantasy score prop bets I'll touch on, but if you guys are just going to, maybe if you guys want to wait until the underdog fantasy score lines come out, you can, but obviously we're going to be talking about some traditional sportsbook bets in here as well. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and jump on into today's slate. So let's start out here with the first game. We got Dallas versus the Kings, guys. So looking at it, Anthony Davis is currently listed as questionable. And if he ends up sitting, obviously that would create a decent amount of value potentially here in this game. You also have, looking at the Kings, guys, they're still without Levine, Sabonis. Just a lot of their players are still listed as out. So guys, just pulling up the top prop bets that we were getting here in this game, we are seeing kind of an interesting line here with Precious here, where his points and assists at 9.5 were being told to bet on his under, but his points at 7.5 were being told to bet on his over. That's just definitely an interesting bet there. Very good matchup for him. Close game, 232, 2.5 point spread. I don't hate it, but I don't necessarily need to get to that one. Dennis Schroeder with his fantasy score, I don't necessarily need to get to that one. We are kind of being told to bet on his under. If we are actually betting on his under, I think we'd rather than get to like Russell Westbrook for over his fantasy score, like we're being told to bet on here as well. He is someone that, is projected for 30 minutes. We would need him to probably get more than that, which could end up happening with this game being projected to stay closer. That's what we would be banking on here. So I don't mind it, but also kind of feels like a bet that we'd be somewhat forcing in there. And that's kind of the theme with all these bets that are popping up. Like Clifford to get over his points, 9.5. Sure, I'd probably be favoring the over, but I don't necessarily need to go out of my way to target it. Even Cooper Flag with his rebounds and assists here of 11.5. Sure, if I had to choose, I probably would be trying to get to the over, but I don't necessarily feel the need to get to there. Ryan Nembhard's really the only one that I'd like to get to the over. At the same time, when we look at his game log, it is pretty ugly. We're really hoping that he does end up getting those 29 minutes that he's projected to get. Because if he ends up getting, obviously, 17 minutes, we don't necessarily like that. And this is a bet where you could potentially run out the under on underdog. Some lines have him at 19.5. PrizePicks has him at 18.5, which is a little bit too low. Also on top of that, guys, if Brandon Williams and also Anthony Davis sits, that does help out Nembhard a decent amount. And then we have to get into my daily call out of PJ Washington, guys. So PJ Washington, I'm kind of a sucker for his fantasy score prop bets, especially compared to his points, rebounds, and assist lines, just because he typically speaking will get some blocks and steals, and so that typically helps out his over. Now the data is not necessarily telling us to bet the over here, but I do like the over here. Projected for 32 minutes. If he does end up getting that, I think we're sitting pretty firm to get this over. That does really matter. This game is projected to stay close. He is someone that would benefit as well with Anthony Davis potentially sitting, but that does potentially hurt the likelihood for this game to end up being a close game, and even the game total would be a little bit changed there as well. Real quickly, we'll jump into the best bets. We're not going to get any ideal bets. So for this game, we do have PJ Washington, Nembhard for their overs, Schroeder for his under points. We are getting a lot of unders here, and it's kind of interesting here. I actually don't hate the idea of getting to Cooper Flag for under 4.5 assists. We had him for 3.5 assists for the over in the last slate, which came through for us. Yeah, these bets overall, though, seem a little bit too tight. So let's go ahead and jump on into the next slate. All right, guys, so looking at the next game, we got Denver versus Orlando. So Orlando is still bringed up. We'll see if Jalen Suggs ends up being active in this game or not. Anthony Black has continued to go out, though. Pretty good stuff for him. We do know that the Wagners are still, and then for Denver as well, guys, Aaron Gordon's out, Braun is out, and then Cameron Johnson is out as well. That could potentially create some value for us. This is about a 5-point spread and a 35.1 game total, so a decently high-scoring game. And so, guys, I want to talk about Bruce Brown. So with those players being off the court, Bruce Brown is someone that does benefit a decent amount. Per 36-wise, he does average about 12.1 points, 6.6 rebounds, and about 2.5 assists. So nothing too crazy here, but I do think if we wanted to, we could get to his over points here of 8.5. There's a little bit of an edge there. Even his over fantasy score is somewhat appealing as well. We do know he's only projected to get 28 minutes, but he is someone that with this game staying close, you kind of would expect him to, have a decent game. Definitely not a lock and load bet though by any means. And then looking at Tim Hardaway Jr., he's kind of interesting as well, guys. He averages about 3.7 more points per 36 with those players off the court specifically. So that comes to around 19.9, so almost 20 points. And so we look at the last 3 games and we can kind of see, he's been able to crush that. In the previous game against Orlando, only 12, but let's see how many minutes he played in that game. He played 26. So, oh no. I typed in Tim. Here we go. Orlando. So he played 27. So basically what we're expecting him to get, 5 for 8, 2 for 4. So didn't necessarily get more shot attempts up like he has been getting recently. And again, that's just due to those players being out, and maybe does get a little bit more run here. So I actually think this is a decent bet here. 51% chance to hit. What we don't like is going to be the DVP, guys. When you adjust it for his projected minutes based off of his average, he doesn't get the over. But again, we are adjusting it based off of that per 36 production with Cameron Johnson, Aaron Gordon, and Christian Braun off the court. Now from there, I wouldn't say there's necessarily any other bets that I necessarily feel the need to get to. Jokic does average about 2.4 more points per 36, but I don't necessarily care about that. To me, it just comes down to like Bruce Brown and also Tim Hardaway as like the players that are going to benefit the most with that. So we'll take a peek at the best bets and ideal bets here, guys. Nothing too crazy. Desmond Bane for over 4 rebounds. I do probably like this bet. I think it does have a decent chance to end up being a push here, guys. He is someone that, as you can see, typically does get to around 4. All the data points are telling us 4 is just a little bit too low. Probably will be a push, but we would be favoring the over. 52% chance for that one to hit. Tyus Jones has been someone that's been getting a little bit more run recently with Jalen Suggs being off the court. So we have him projected for 16 minutes. If he gets that, we would hate this bet, just to be clear. If Suggs is still out, then we actually do like that bet. And then from there, guys, nothing too crazy in regards to what we need to be going out of our way to target. And if you were going to bet on Tyus Jones, guys, you just want to bet on his over 4.5 points. But again, that is very much predicated on Suggs still sitting, so we can get him to get to 16 points. Let's actually see there. So yeah, didn't play on Friday, so I kind of think that's more likely for him to play on Saturday, the back end of a back-to-back. And so just a little bit of a concern there. We'll jump on into the next game here. Phoenix versus the Pelicans. So we do need to get news on Grayson Allen, whether or not he's going to play. He was out in the last game, guys. Could end up playing potentially tonight, but it doesn't look like he is going to. We'll see. Projected minutes. Do have him for some projected minutes, so we'll see if he ends up playing. And then the Pels as well, guys. So Herbert Jones, DeJounte Murray still out. Herbert Jones actually could end up playing in this game. It's the back end of back-to-back. We'll see kind of what happens there. And so I don't mind the idea of getting like Jordan Poole. He was someone that was actually questionable in the last game. I was actually a little bit shocked to actually see him end up being active in that game last night, just with it being the front end of a back-to-back. But he ended up shooting the basketball a ton. 2 for, still, guys, terrible from 3-ball range. 2 for 11. He has been ice cold shooting, which, if he continues to do that, you would kind of expect him to be able to get over his rebounds and assists. So I don't necessarily hate that, but it is crazy just how poorly he has been shooting. Now, another kind of interesting spot that we have here is with Dylan Brooks, another player that's been shooting the basketball pretty poorly over the last kind of several of games. 1 for 7 last game, guys. I guess it's really just last night. Apologies. Just last night, 1 for 7. So he is coming in off of a poor night shooting in a good matchup, higher scoring game, almost 239 point total here, guys, as well as a 5.5 point spread. I kind of like Dylan Brooks, especially if Grayson Allen ends up sitting. That's what we'd be banking on there. But if he's going to shoot that basketball that much, and obviously coming in off of a poor night, I kind of think he has a good chance to end up having a good game. From there, we're just going to put on the filter call-outs once again, seeing whether or not we're getting any, pretty solid bets that check some boxes for us. Jordan Goodwin, under 4.5 rebounds. I just don't like messing with him. His minutes are kind of all over the place. Zion to get over 5 rebounds is definitely an interesting one here, guys. Projection for 29 minutes. Not the best matchup, but it is a high-scoring game, close game, so we like that there. We've seen the last game against Phoenix, guys, 5, so we like that there as well. Minutes, we do need him to get closer to 29 minutes. That's what we would want. It is the back end of a back-to-back. Maybe he does not get as many minutes as we're expecting him to get, but all in all, I think that bet has has a decent chance to end up being a push. So I'm kind of okay with that. And yeah, Jordan Goodwin for his under. If we were going to bet on an under, it would be his under PRA here. This is a bet that we saw. I think the last two slates, it's been a bet that's casually been popping up here, guys. And so we see here Pelicans 13 in the last game against them, and we see the last 3 games really struggling. So yeah, I would say for the most part that bet has a very good chance to end up not hitting. And then Colin Gillespie, if Grayson Allen were back, that would hurt him a little bit, so that'd be a bet that you could potentially get to for his under. And now we jump on into New York here versus Atlanta. So another decently high-scoring game, 242, guys. And then looking at the point spread, it is a 6-point spread in favor of the New York Knicks playing. Now, the Knicks are going to be without Josh Hart here, which I do think is kind of interesting. We look at the minutes difference. OG is going to get a little bit of a bump. Not necessarily someone I think we need to go out of our way to target, but that's kind of interesting. McBride, maybe he ends up being back, but that would shift some minutes as well. For the Pelicans, maybe a decent spot for them, but it is the back and a back-to-back, so we'll see if any good bets are popping up. So guys, who benefits the most with Josh Hart being off the court? Well, it is kind of a mix between like Mitchell Robinson a little bit. Karl-Anthony Towns actually sees a big bump in his rebounds, about 3 rebounds more. Jalen Brunson about 1 more point, 1 more rebound, so we don't hate that. Tyler Kolek about 2.6 more points. Jordan Clarkson about 2.8 more points. OG, we're seeing that his rebounds here of 5 is popping up, which I do not hate. I think this actually ends up being one of the more appealing bets on the slate. So per 36 wise, and he is projected for 35 minutes, per 36 wise, he averages 6.6 rebounds per 36 with Josh Hart off the court. And we see all the data points are telling us to bet the over here as well. What we don't like is obviously going to be the game log. Has not been able to get his over rebounds recently. So I could see why you wouldn't want to bet that over. And I kind of get it, but this is going to be our higher scoring game going against Atlanta. And again, with Josh Hart being off the court, we probably do favor that over a little bit more. Let's take a peek at Towns. I want to see Towns because yeah, his rebounds is pretty jacked up, 12.5. But again, guys, he does average about 3 more rebounds per 36 with Josh Hart off the court to 14.7 rebounds, sorry. So not a terrible spot for him, but also not necessarily a spot where we have to get to there with him. Kind of annoying that we aren't getting that one. Are we getting any Tyler Kolek prop bets? We are not. Any Jordan Clarkson prop bets? No. Jalen Brunson for over 29.5 points is a little bit interesting as well, guys. Again, per 36, he does get a little bit of a bump points-wise. About 30.5 is what he averages with Hart off the court. So nothing too crazy, but in a higher scoring game, yeah, you probably would be favoring the over there. It does seem like the books are adjusting properly for Hart being off the court. The only one that maybe does get a little bit more run is going to be Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson, guys, does average 5 more points and 6 rebounds more per 36 with Josh Hart off the court. And what I like here, guys, is just looking at it, we see his rebounds at 9, his points at 5.5. So this bet here for his over points and rebounds is kind of popping, and I think we can get to this. Now, we do need him to get to 20 minutes. Okay, that is very crucial. If he gets to 20 minutes, he should be able to get this over. That is what we are banking on in this matchup. In the very good matchup, high-scoring game, that is what we need. I do like the over here. Maybe you could get to his over points, rebounds, and assists. He's not typically someone that gets a lot of assists, but will he get 1? I do think there's a good chance that he ends up getting 1. So we can kind of bank that in there, rather just get to his over PRA. Now, this is not a good prize picks bet here, guys. I want to make that clear. Or underdog bet. It has a 51% chance for the under to hit. So again, that's not necessarily a bet that we need to be going out of our way to target on prize picks or underdog. Better traditional sportsbook bet. And then from there, are we getting any other decent spots here? Price sure. 3.5 rebounds and assists. Yeah, he had a weird game. He really did. Only 20 minutes in that game after having, a good night shooting. I think we just stay away from him, unfortunately. It's just I didn't catch it. I don't know exactly what happened there, but nothing. I don't want to mess with that. Trae Young, again, a good matchup. Not a good matchup, sorry. Good game total, but not a good matchup. Do we necessarily need to go in on him? Probably not. Alexander Walker is probably the most appealing player, but we look at the recent game log, nothing too crazy there. But yeah, this line is a little bit too low here for the prize picks line. At 21.5, I do think we'd be favoring the over. Especially if we're trying to do a game stack here, that's probably the best spots for us today is maybe Jason some of these game stacking bets. Mikal Bridges for over points and assists, that I'd be fine with that. I think that's the best route to go, honestly, is probably looking at some of those game stacking bets. Jalen Johnson over points and assists, maybe attacking again a higher scoring game, maybe. We look at Minnesota versus Brooklyn, guys. Only 10-point dogs here in this game are the Brooklyn Nets, and I say that because I would say if Anthony Edwards were for sure going to play, it'd be a little bit higher than that. So if he ends up sitting, obviously we'd be looking at Jaden McDaniels, DiVincenzo, Julius Randle would definitely see a big bump there, and even Naz Reid, especially with Terrence Shannon being out as well. That might even shift some minutes to like Bones Highland and also Rob Dillingham. So just be on the lookout, and even like Mike Conley being out. So that would definitely shift more uses to DiVincenzo and Randle and Reid, and then also some of those backup point guards. So definitely interesting there. And so with that, guys, some of the better bets that we have popping up right now for the Timberwolves are under bets. And so I don't like that. And so maybe if you guys are some of the, again, that bets on more traditional sportsbook sites, you could bet on some of their overs, hoping that Edwards ends up sitting. And again, I think that is a decent likelihood. But that'd be the only way I'd like really want to get to this game right now. And let's just see, are we getting any good bets here? A decent amount. DiVincenzo for under his assist of 4.5. Again, if Edwards is out, I probably don't like that. There's a good matchup for him. Jaden McDaniels over 4 rebounds. I think we could get to this one. Like I'd be fine with it either way. Good matchup again for him. Rudy Gobert over 10.5 points. Another one where, yeah, if Edwards is out, we're probably looking at that one, liking that one a little bit more. So maybe you could jump on some bets here and maybe get some early edges. Like that kind of happened with Miami in the last game, guys, yesterday, where Bam ended up being ruled out. So then like Powell, Jaquez, Wiggins, a lot of their lines just vaulted up, and same thing with Ware. That's what you'd be trying to do, is gain that edge before lines bump up if Edwards were to be ruled out. But other than that, I don't think we're necessarily getting any great bets there. Then we go ahead and take a peek at Chicago versus Milwaukee, guys. So what's interesting here is Giannis is seemingly going to play in this game. Okay. And so if he's back, then I actually think, being a Bucks fan, guys, a little bit biased here. We saw the Bucks get blown out by Memphis. That has just been them. It's been a weird season for them. But if Giannis is back, I think you could easily flip their record. They'd be 19-12. Okay. And so I kind of like the idea of betting on the Bucks in this game. The question is, will Giannis be, how many minutes will he get? Will he be limited minutes wise? And so we don't have those minutes projections just yet for him. So that is something to, be on the lookout for. Decently high scoring game though. Okay, so this is a high scoring game now for the Bucks, which is kind of interesting. 235. A lot of them have been lower scoring. And now, guys, the best bet that we are getting in this game would be Kobe White to get over 4 assists. 51% chance for that to hit. He does draw a more difficult matchup just in general. So I don't know if we need to go crazy with that. But that's like the best bet that we are getting in this game right now. So we'll put on all the filters here. And then oh, wow. Bezulis to get under 5.5 rebounds and assists. Okay, it's a plus EV bet right now. We got to place that bet. That'll probably be updated. We'll see. Other than that, yeah, we're not going to get Bucks bets until we get, obviously, Giannis being active. We are getting AJ Green. That makes sense. His role doesn't really change if Giannis is on the court or not. It might actually lead to a couple more open threes for him. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe. He's so shot dependent. I wouldn't want to place any bets on him, though. Giannis, we are getting some lines for on PrizePicks, but again, we don't need to go crazy with that. I'm excited. It's been, as a Bucks fan, guys, just a real quick tangent. It's been so brutal over the last several seasons without having your team play like a significant amount of games together. The team that you have on paper to start the season, to not have games played together. It's super annoying. And then you have all these reporters making up reports about Giannis wanting to be traded and whatnot. It's just super frustrating. It's like, let us just get 30 games together with the core players that we want. Previous seasons, Dame, Middleton, Giannis. Other seasons, Drew, Middleton, Giannis. We obviously saw what happened when that core actually was able to play together in the postseason. They won a championship. Like, I just want to see this group that's designed specifically for Giannis for at least 30 games until, if it fails after that point, then sure, jump on the narrative that the media is trying to put out there. But I'm kind of excited. That being said, he'll probably be limited. That being said, for betting purposes, probably not touching any bets here. And yes, guys, that was my weekly tangent on basically shams being a sham of the NBA media. So we'll jump on in here to the Houston Rockets versus the Cleveland Cavs. Okay, so kind of a fun game. 235, 4-point spread. No one really significant is out. Sengun probably will play. And so looking at some of the best bets that we're getting here, Sam Merrill over 2.5 rebounds. All in all, I don't hate this one. I think this is a kind of interesting one. Only projected for 19 minutes. Yes, we would need him to get a little bit more than that. I hope that the minutes projection is wrong. Thus, we would actually really like the over here. So we'll see. That might be updating throughout the day. But for now, I'm okay with that. We also have Sam Merrill over 2.5 3-pointers made. Not necessarily a bet that I feel like we need to get to. Amon Thompson has been kind of a player that we've been hammering home with his fantasy score. I think 3 straight slates now. as I'm recording this video, we're not getting any fantasy score lines for him, but given his PRA line, I would imagine that his fantasy score line comes out to about 34.5. If it comes out to that, guys, bet that over. He is someone that typically does outweigh the turnovers to steals and blocks, which is a good thing. And thus, we'd want to be betting on his over 34.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Even still here, this one has a 50% chance basically to get the over, 50-50 split here. I think we would just continue to ride the hot hand here. And I like that. I think we can still get to his overs. Now, given the fact that we have a bet here that has a 51% chance to hit rebounds and assists, we'd probably just rather go with that. Or his over assist here of 5.5, we'd probably just rather roll with those. At the same time, like, it's not a big difference. Like, I'd rather just kind of bet on him to have a good game, continue to have a good game. So I think we would just rather do that. And then are there other bets here that are popping up? Reed Shepard, 18.5 PRA. Nothing too crazy. And so maybe Tari Eason. Let's take a peek at this one. Yeah, Tari Eason over 12.5 points and assists. I don't hate that. Again, we are getting like a decent game stacking opportunity here. I don't hate that. I don't hate some of the game stacking bets here where it's a close game, probably going to be a high scoring game. Maybe that's how we get to those bets. But then let's jump into one more game here. I believe it's one more game. Oh, we got two more games. Apologies. We'll jump into Indiana versus Miami. I kind of expect Bam to end up being active in this game after sitting on the front end of a back-to-back, guys. And then looking at Indiana, they are still very banged up. Isaiah Jackson's still out, Toppin's still out. So Jay Huff is going to continue to see that additional run that he has been getting. And so we'll see if there's any good bets for him. And here we go. The top prop bet that we are getting for this game is Jay Huff to get over 5 rebounds. Good matchup for him. All the data points are pretty much telling. This is crazy, guys. We're getting so many bets on PrizePicks right now that are at 5. Okay. And I would assume that's due to Vegas putting a heavy likelihood on the under 5.5 to hit. But I also think there's a very strong chance that he just gets to the 5 rebounds like he was projected to get in the last game, guys. Only 21 minutes. And so with that, he only had 4 rebounds. So we do need the 27 minutes to be there for him. And given the point spread, 8.5 total points, we do worry about the blowout a little bit. But at the same time, I do think we probably would still be favoring the over here. Johnny Furphy over to make a 3-pointer. That's an interesting bet here. Shooting a decent amount per game. Maybe. Jay Huff over rebounds and assists, that points and rebounds, sorry. A little bit of an interesting bet there as well, but nothing too crazy. And then for Miami, nothing too crazy here. I do want to take a peek at Norman Powell. Just in general, I feel like his lines are always too low. What's his points line at 23? At 23, we could be thinking about the over. His points, rebounds, and assists, probably the correct line overall. So nothing too crazy there. Maybe one bet here in this game. We'll jump on in now to the last game, which is the Spurs versus Utah. Now, we are going to get some stacking opportunities here in this game, guys, because it is such a higher scoring game. So maybe we like some of the spots here. De'Aaron Fox is currently listed as day-to-day. I personally tend to believe these players sit in a game that's a 16-point spread, right? Looking at the game total, 16.6. Okay, that's crazy. And so they probably don't even need him to play. Looking at the over and under, 245 almost. And so we always know, like, yeah, sure, we're probably looking at Keontae George as well to have a good game. And so let's start out with Keontae George. Again, we're not getting any fantasy score prop bets just yet. Doing this video a little bit earlier than I typically would. I don't necessarily need a bet on him to get over 4 rebounds, but not a terrible bet there. 3-pointers made, sure. Really, all the bets for him are just a little bit too low, it seems like. But he's someone where if I'm just betting on him, I want to bet on his over fantasy score. Even if it ends up being a blowout like it's projected to be, he still should get the minutes. And so his lines are still going to be a little bit too low. Other than that, though, I don't necessarily need to get to any bets here for the Utah Jazz. Maybe it's 5 for over 1.5 3-pointers. Don't necessarily love it, though. Devin Vassell to get over 6.5 rebounds and assists. Not a terrible one. Higher scoring game. He's someone that still should get run in a blowout, or he's going to be part of the reason as to why there was a blowout, so I don't hate that. Isaiah Collier is also an interesting player where if it does end up being a blowout, his minutes really won't change at all. And so his points and assists to me is a pretty interesting bet. We have him projected for 22 minutes. Maybe actually gets a little bit more run than that, and that would obviously be much more appealing for him. Let's see. Yeah, I kind of like his over assists more if we were going to chase a bet for him. 6.5 for sure, but 7 is not terrible as well. And then I do just want to call out, like, who does benefit the most if Fox does end up sitting. Devin Vassell actually sees 3 less points per 36, guys, so we probably don't need to get to him. Castle actually gets less points, which is pretty fascinating to me. Less rebounds as well. Harrison Barnes, maybe. We're not many people benefit with Fox being off the court, which is to me a little bit shocking. Really, everyone's production goes down. The only player that benefits is Julian Champagne, and we're not really expecting him to do much. Luke Cornett, maybe. Luke Cornett would maybe pick up a little bit more run. They shift to a bigger ball. Maybe he gets like a 1.5 rebounds more. So nothing really much there if Fox ends up staying. I was hoping that'd actually be a good edge spot for us, but it just doesn't look like it. All right, everyone. So going ahead and getting to the bet of the day here for this slate, we're looking at PJ Washington again over his fantasy score. I like Dylan Brooks over his fantasy score as well, coming in off of that poor night shooting. Jordan Poole, okay, he's been terrible shooting, lately. Due for a better day if he's going to continue to shoot those shot attempts. I don't mind him getting to that over. He could end up sitting. I do like Zion over rebounds. These are all bets that probably will end up being pushes. Good chance to be a push, but we would be favoring the overs there. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Appreciate you being here. Good luck with all your bets for today. Make sure to leave a like on you guys' way out. Subscribe to the channel as well. If you guys would like access to that NBA PrizePicks optimizer as well as all the other NBA optimizers, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to all those tools for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. Appreciate you guys being here. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.